Welcome everyone to Post Crisis Chat, the Brave and the Bold edition. I'm co-host Randy, and with me is my heterosexual life partner.
And the ever sugary sweet sweet cookie is what you can call me. Um, yep. If you are a first time viewer, we want to welcome you. We're always glad to have you here. Need as many first time viewers as possible. Uh, if you could please remember to like this video and subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you can get notified next week when we drop our next episode.
It really is such a small thing to do, but it really helps to grow the channel. And if you're not a first-time viewer, we want to welcome you back. We are so thankful that you are here.
Yes, we could not do this without you. We probably still would try, but we wouldn't get very far.
That's
And
true.
then this is the point where, oh yeah, definitely. I mean, we're comic book junkies. We have to do something, right? Uh, this is the part where I've got to tell everyone the part where I say we're advising you that we will be talking about decades old spoilers. So if you have not read these comics at this point in time, shame on you. We're going to spoil them for you. And then now the issue we're going to be discussing today is Swamp Thing issue 48. I'm not going to say Saga because apparently it looks like Saga has been dropped from the title for the last like 3 or 4 issues, but we've still been calling it Saga of the Swamp Thing.
It is technically still Saga of the Swamp Thing. If you look at the copyright and things of that nature, they just don't put it on the cover. So both are
Yeah, but we got to go
technically
off.
correct.
We got to go off the cover though, right? Which is a really interesting cover. We'll get into that in a second. So this issue is, as always, is written by Alan Moore, and we've got the pencils and inks this time are going to be done by John Totlebon, um, which is actually I'm kind of looking forward to seeing because I kind of dig him. I think he's a pretty decent artist. Totlebon also does the pencils with Stephen Bissette on this cover.
Yeah. And so yeah, let's talk about this cover. It's a pretty cool cover. It looks like Swamp Thing and the Brahia, who we learned in the previous issue, are trying to destroy heaven. We see an Invunchi um, on the front that is currently trying to attack Swamp Thing with its head turned around backwards. That's pretty cool. Um, and then there's the evil priest surrounding Swamp Thing, and Swamp Thing seems to be pulling someone up out of some like a mucky pool that has some water and a fish flowing into it. Um, I gotta be honest, the coolest part of this cover is those gargoyles surrounding the pool. I mean, they are just awesome. Uh, Everything else is just a little kinda plain. It's okay, it's not bad, but we certainly had a lot better.
I I, I agree. I mean, like I don't like most of it. I mean, the gargoyles are cool, and then I actually like the red background, kind of tying in a lot of the elements of what's going on with the destruction of heaven, which is like Swamp Thing's version of the crisis, and then of course the crisis event itself. So we're tying that in with the red sky, and I think the crows are kind of a nice little ominous like touch to the cover.
You know what? I completely glossed over the crows when I was looking at this, and they do tie into the issue, so you know what? My bad for missing that. It does make the cover slightly more interesting than it was.
It's almost like everything around the main event of the cover is interesting, and then the main event of the cover is kind of like, if, pardon me for saying this, but kind of like watching, WWE's like WrestleMania, and the main event is like, our truth versus, some other jobber or something. You're like, all right, that's an interesting choice.
Yeah, it is. When I was originally looking at this, I didn't know who Swamp Thing was pulling out of the muck. I suspected it was Constantine, and now having read the issue, it is definitely Constantine.
It's a very soggy Constantine.
It is.
I mean, he looks like basically he's about to fall apart. He's just like been in the bath like way too long or something, and he's just like you even touch him and it's gonna be like hitting jello.
the impression I got, although looking at it with you having said that, I can see how you come to that conclusion. When I looked at it, I just thought he was covered by muck from the pool.
I mean, that's definitely what it is. I mean, it doesn't look like your typical pool too, because it's a little brown liquidy-ish. So it's like it definitely kind of like muddy waters or something. Could it could also be honey, for all we know. Maybe he's taking a honey bath. I
Yeah.
don't know what's going on. Constantine's a weird dude. He would do that.
Yeah, I could see him doing that. Yeah. The first page, we see some crows and the narrator Constantine talking about how crows are a bad omen. Which, bad omen on the cover. Bad things are coming. The art on this page is okay. It seems kind of basic. Meh.
It's I don't know. To me, it's not basic in the sense of like, okay, I like the pacing. I thought the pacing was really good. We open with a couple of blank panels, and we start to see the crows come in to everything. They envelop everything with their darkness, which eventually bleeds into the whole Constantine striking the match, lighting the cigarette. So I thought the pacing on this was really good. Uh, art
Yeah,
wise,
I give you credit. That you're right about that. I didn't register that before, but I see what you're talking about.
yeah, I mean, the art wise, it's not like spectacular, but it's definitely interesting in the sense of like I like the creativity of just trying to do what they're trying to do. They're getting very artsy with this. Totlebon wanted to obviously try and do like a very artsy style, because it almost feels like a splash page, but just kind of split up into multiple panels if you look at it.
Yeah, I kind of see that too. I guess I don't know. You're right. It's better than I originally gave it credit for, but it's still kind of meh. So
I mean,
then,
you're
oh, got it. Sorry,
you're
go
very
ahead.
picky though. You're very picky on your art though. We've already discussed this.
Yeah. On the next page, we get a two-page splash of Constantine in a cave, and he mentions the Brujeria have been down here for thousands of years based on the age of the carvings. Then we flash back in time to where Constantine met everyone this morning. So love, love, love the carving in the art here. The detail is just phenomenal. It looks like Totlebon spent a lot of time on this page, and I really appreciate it. It looks good.
It's really well done. The detail on like I said, the carvings is beautiful, especially as like I mean, knowing how difficult it can be to do like heavy shadowed things like this. Of like there's trying to get the detail balanced with the shading and everything. For me, it's not something I've been capable of being able to do. So I always appreciate if you can draw dark pages and make everything look really good.
Yeah, yeah, this looks really brilliant. And I also want to call out Judy on the bottom right. He did a really good job drawing her. That she looks really good and detailed in that particular panel.
Yeah, I think this is like one of the only times I actually liked her. I want to say like I'll have to go as I'm flipping through this. I'll have to try to remember, but I think this was like the time where I was like, all right, this is kind of a cool design for her. And then I thought by the end I started to kind of feel meh on her. So
So we move on to the next page, and uh, Judy and Frank are the only ones that have shown up. Benjamin and Sister Anne Marie aren't coming. Judy picks a yellow flower. Benjamin is having personal problems with his mom, and Sister Anne Marie is missing. They complain that Swamp Thing hasn't shown up yet, but Swamp Thing is in fact nearby and says, I have been here since yesterday. Kind of uh, giving them a tiny little lecture of like, hey, I'm not the one who's late, you are, which is kind of a flip because usually it's Constantine giving Swamp Thing crap about that. I really like the art on this page too, especially when we have close-ups of the faces. The faces look phenomenal, which that's a big deal for me. I want to see the expression, I want to see the emotion, I want to see people's faces and what they look like, and this is great in my opinion.
I thought this was a pretty decently structured panel work on this one. Everyone's kind of like I said, got a good look to them. Definitely emotion. The bottom left panel there with Constantine kind of like giving the little wave of dismissal as he's smoking his cigarette and everything.
Yeah, he's
Um,
like,
I
whatever, whoever showed up, fine. Let's just go.
Yeah, it's definitely like this was a good one. I thought it was also kind of hilarious that um like this buildup of Constantine's friends. These are the people that are supposed to help with this big magical event. These people that look like the kind of guys you'd see hanging out at a Walmart at 3 in the morning are going to somehow save, the future. And only a couple of them show up, and they're like, okay, so we're basically got a buildup of nothing happening.
Yeah, and I think that that is something that future writers of Constantine took and just kept going with. That here's my high expectations, and then nothing works out right.
It definitely feels like that, and I'm hoping that we're going to get the typical uh, big superhero crossover that I've been anticipating of like, okay, so the the D squad here is not being able to pull together and save the day. So all right, let's go get the big guns. Let's bring in some Doctor Fate and some,
the
you know,
the mystical side of the
magic.
DC universe is going to come together soon. We just got to get there, slog through this issue first, and then we will get there.
Yeah,
um,
that's really what I'm waiting for. It's like, those it's movies, TV shows. They always like hype up something big's going to happen, and then you get like, okay, this wasn't what I was expecting. So
yeah. So moving on to the next page, we get an almost full page shot of Swamp Thing here with his new look. Since he is in a different location, this new look is glorious, especially the nine-leaf crown thing on his head. The flower shoulder pads aren't shabby either. I mean, it's the '80s. Everybody's got shoulder pads, right? Why shouldn't Swamp Thing? Um, and then Constantine leads everybody to the caves. But yeah, this Swamp Thing art is just I would like that as a poster, and I would hang it up on my wall behind me for when we record these shows because that is just perfection.
that is a really beautiful looking Swamp Thing. I didn't think of the shoulder pads until you said it, and then now the masochistic side of me wants to see Rob Liefeld draw a picture of Swamp Thing. Um, but I
I
this for
didn't
some
need my
reason.
games anymore. I would give you a role play point for that one.
But for some reason, this Swamp Thing kind of reminds me of like Jamaican Cruise Swamp Thing. Of it's just like he just has this like like island vibe going for him that is it's just really cool looking to me. That I'm kind of like disappointed that this isn't the regular look of Swamp Thing.
So I just noticed this. I think this is Swamp Thing ready to go to war. He's got his helmet on, he's got his shoulder pads on, he's got his codpiece on. He is protected. He's got those branches coming down around his chest. Dude is ready for war.
No, he does. He looks like Cable. Like like I said, shoulder pads. He's got the sparkling eyes. He's got the leaves coming down, like the pouches. All he needs is the big guns that look like bread from Walmart or something.
Yeah, no, that's I love this look for him. So yeah, then Constantine is leading everybody into the caves. They arrive at the caves, and Constantine notes that the caves smell evil. The plan is for Swamp Thing to go through the green and grow himself a new body inside the central chamber to surprise the Brujeria, and everyone else waits to catch anyone trying to escape the caves. Constantine notes again he saw crows. He is having trouble finding his matches, and also says the flashlight batteries ran out about the time he split up with Frank and Judy. And I feel like that he should know better than to split the party. Um, but then again, I mean, Constantine doesn't always get everything right. He is quite flawed, and I guess that's part of the appeal of his character.
he he's the everyman's magician. Is what I always kind of took him as. Is he's the guy that's like Like he didn't spend decades in Hogwarts learning to practice magic or anything like that. It just one day he just picked up a book and was like, "Yep, all right, I'm gonna be a magician." That's always what I kind of got from him. Is like, I mean, I know that's not his origin, but that's he just he just does what he does, and that's the charm of him. But I at least
Curse,
think you would have like packed more batteries or something.
yeah. It occurs to me, I'm not sure that I know what Constantine's origin is, and don't spoil me because I want to find out, through reading his comics. But I've never even thought to look it up before.
I honestly don't know what it is either. Outside of television appearances and stuff like that, I don't know much about Constantine. I mean, honestly, my first introduction into Constantine was the Keanu Reeves movie, which is, I mean, it's a good movie. I love that movie. It's not Constantine, but it's a great movie.
Agree with everything you just said, which is right. We know absolutely right about that. We do move on to the next page. He split the party because there were multiple ways to go into the cave entrance, and I feel like he should have just kept everyone there at the cave entrance. Then anyone trying to escape would be funneled right to the party. I, I, I'm sorry that he should be smarter than that. I get that he makes mistakes, and I get that he screws things up sometimes. I also get that the only reason they split up was for plot reasons, but that just doesn't make sense. It's a very rare circumstance, in my opinion, that Alan Moore has written something that's questionable, at least
Well,
in
you also
Swamp
got
Thing.
to, I was going to say, you also got to remember that neither Constantine nor Alan Moore are probably dungeon masters. So they probably don't think about this stuff the way that you're thinking about it. So yeah, I think you're putting a little bit too. See, to me, like that's the tangent you went off on. You're thinking about all that. I'm sitting here wondering what evil smells like. Like I imagine it is something along the lines of like a combination of like Chick-fil-A and Taco Bell tacos or something.
You gotta get some sulfur in there too.
I did say I said Chick-fil-A.
Okay, that was fun. So he sees a light ahead and realizes it's a glowing waistcoat made of human skin, and in Invucci. And an Invucci is coming Constantine's way. I'm going to be honest, the art on this page is plain lazy because more than half the page is black. Um, I I think that that was something they did to help rush and get the issue out because normally I am a huge fan of Totlebon's work, but this issue, most of it felt very rushed. I will call out the really good panels as I already have, but I'm disappointed in the art in this issue, and this page is a perfect example of why when you have more than half the page is blank, and I'm sorry, black, not blank. And then the little bit of the page that is detailed is like a blob of color, and then a slightly human shaped blob of color, and then I guess we get a few more details on the bottom panel. It's still not very detailed.
It's I think again, I think they're trying to go for like pacing and kind of setting a mood of you're in darkness in this dark cave, the scariness of like, you know, not being able to see anything and then something suddenly comes into view. I think that's possibly what they might have been going for. My issue is this the Imbuchi, Ichiban, whatever you want to call them, is not in a comic book, not a visually scary looking thing. This does not transfer well. Like I feel in a horror movie, this would be really creepy looking to see on screen. For some reason, it does not translate as well on a comic book. It looks kind of goofy looking. Like I keep thinking the whole time, his head is turned around. How is it like? How can you not escape this guy? It doesn't. He's got one arm tied behind his back, which we all know that that never works out in a fight. Um, I mean, it's he's wearing a loincloth for crying out loud. And no one's thought to kick him in the nuts even once.
These
It,
are
this,
all very valid points. And again, I think it just goes back to this is one of the issues of one of the few rare circumstances of Swamp Thing where Alan Moore's writing is just not up to par with Alan Moore's writing. He had an off issue here, I think.
I could see that. I mean, it's definitely an off issue, but I just stand by the fact that this is not compared to the other villains we've seen. We've had werewolves, we've had zombies, we've had arcane, we've had like a lot of great like threatening menaces, and then we've got Billy the backwards head boy walking around trying to scare the hell out of everybody. This just doesn't work as a villain for me. But I think I see what he's trying to do. I'm just not going for it.
And then we move on to the next page where Constantine fights the Invuci and seems to almost be losing. He is forcing himself not to black out from the pain. Um, and I again, some of the panels here look good, some look kind of lazy, but him blacking out, that what do you call it? The timing is how you put it, I believe. That I'm actually impressed by, even though the details aren't really there. It's like you said before. I get what they're going for. Um, it's just not a great execution in this case.
Yeah, I'm for once, I'm actually going to agree with you. This is just not great artwork on this one. I think a lot of it was probably, like I said, the rushing to get it out, stuff like that. It just, I was not a fan of this particular page, except for, like I said, I liked the timing, the pacing, and the transition. I
I
thought
think
were
that's
done
what
really,
you
really
called
well.
it. That's what I was trying to think of a second ago. Um, so yeah, and then we see that Swamp Thing um, is in the green, and something is wrong. And then we go to the next page, and maybe my favorite page of the book. Swamp Thing is inside the green, and he realizes that he has been blocked with magic. And I think this is the first time we've encountered this kind of weakness with Swamp Thing. I don't think we've ever seen him just shut down like that before, and that was really interesting to me.
Yeah, it's kind of intriguing that it's like, okay, wait a second, someone can actually prevent him from doing like being able to appear someplace. This is a very interesting idea that it's like, okay, the green is being blocked, interrupted. I don't know what exactly it is that's stopping him, but that is very intriguing. I'm kind of like, I want to see that concept explored a little bit more in the future.
Yeah, yeah, that would. I'm interested in seeing more of that. I also want to call out the art in this top panel. This art is exceptional, except for Swamp Thing himself, who is just a vaguely human-shaped green blob. But the rest of the green is just phenomenal. I love it. I love the details. I love the way it looks. I love the way that we're trying to interpret the space that Swamp Thing is in. Just absolutely gorgeous.
The green is always very interesting when they try to draw it. It's kind of like a combination of like an alien world kind of thing with mixed in with, like I said, some plant elements. Also kind of reminds me a little bit of like almost like a microscopic view into the world and stuff. There's a lot of different various elements, I guess you say, that are kind of thrown in there that really make it kind of intriguing. Like I'm very interested to see what else we get from the green in future issues.
Definitely. And then we come to the bottom portion of the page, and we find out Swamp Thing regrets his time with Parliament of Trees in the last issue, and wishes he had come straight to the cave. Um, I disagree with Swamp Thing. I thought the Parliament of Trees was more interesting than this cave, but we'll get back to that. Maybe the magical barrier would not have been in place, he thinks. And I really like the art on the lower right side, where we're kind of you get Swamp Thing's face, and then zooming in on his eye, and zooming in more and more until it's just the blackness of his eye with that white reflecting off of it. I love the sequence here, the pacing as you called it. Um, yeah, this is just again phenomenal. Probably my favorite page in the book.
Yeah, it's really good, and there's also, what I find very interesting is there's a lot of really well done transitions in this book. I'm just starting to kind of pick up on them. I think I missed them the first time around, but like where the final panel of a page will end up bleeding into the first panel of another page. It's kind of interesting.
Alright, let's move on to that next page. Oh, yeah. I see what you're talking about. Because when I see it, I only see 1 page at a time unless it's a two-page spread, so yes, that's very good, something that I missed too. So over here on this next page, Judy and Frank are off in their own cave, once again, having made a mistake and split the party, but everything seems quiet. Um, Judy wonders if Cheryl, who is presumably Frank's partner, is concerned that Judy just showed up and Frank took off with her. Frank says that Cheryl understands Constantine and how these things work. Frank also mentions that he and Cheryl have an open relationship, which actually seems really progressive for a comic from 1986.
Yeah, I mean, for the comic book part, I mean, for like the lifestyle, I think a lot of the hippie stuff kind of started to get more into the like progressive open relationship kind of stuff. But yeah, I think you didn't start seeing that in media
Yeah,
around the 70s and 80s.
yeah, totally. And we know in comic book history, I mean, going all the way back to the Golden Age and Wonder Woman, the creators of Wonder Woman were um, living the throuple lifestyle. Um, the creator of Wonder Woman was married to a woman, and they had a female partner. So, it's something that was happening. It just wasn't really talked about.
Yeah, because it was still very taboo to like mainstream America and stuff like that. And it's like you wouldn't uh, want to like throw that out there. So it is actually kind of surprising that he does mention that. But then again, Alan Moore being British, I think he likes to push the envelope with taboos, which really is great.
But also, you have to think we had editorial in the way of talking about something like this, and you've got I don't know if DC was doing better than Marvel at the time, but they're kind of going back and forth. So you've either got the number one or the number two comic book company publishing a comic book in 1986 about non-traditional relationships, and I, I think it's great. I mean, I was just really surprised to see it here.
I wouldn't be surprised if they got away with it because the fact that it is Swamp Thing, and because by this point it's Swamp Thing is kind of thrown into two categories of one basically being the under the radar that no kids are reading Swamp Thing, and you probably don't have like a really high seller of a book at this point. It's not like it's Superman or anything. And two, you've already had a number of issues under your belt that they're dealing with more mature themes. So I could see them being like, we can kind of look the other way on this because it's not a big.
So apparently Judy has gotten a little horny and wants to have sex with Frank in the middle of the murder cult cave. Seems like a good idea, right? And then they get down to it. Um, and I do want to say the close-up shots of faces on this page are amazing, and the shots that are not close-up of faces are just not.
They're they're not terrible. There's a lot of heavy shadow, I think, which kind of um, again, I think they're trying to set moods here because it's really dealing with a lot of darkness, which is kind of works. It does actually help set the mood because you know something nefarious is happening in the darkness.
And so then on the next page, Constantine wakes up in the inner sanctum of the Briharia, and he is chained by the neck to the wall. And they know who he is. They know his name. The art on this page is absolutely gorgeous, especially the architecture. The people on the page are kind of lacking in detail a little bit, but I think that's what you were talking about with the, trying to include shadow. Um, but yeah, all the statues, the gargoyles, the stuff in the background. I mean, the I'm not sure. Is he holding a staff? Yeah, I think that's a staff that the guy on the left is holding, with like the curled claw hand at the top and the shrunken heads hanging off of it. I mean, most of this, the people aside, is just I love this. This page is gorgeous. My second favorite page in the book.
It definitely does look like a creepy environment for all this stuff to happen, which I definitely like that.
The Breharians tell Constantine that he is in a place of a long and cruel death. They have been around for millions of years and will be here long after humans leave. They know about Swamp Thing and tell Constantine that nothing can grow here. Constantine says he is not alone, and then that perfect reveal on the bottom right, we see a pair of women's legs telling Constantine that he is in fact alone. I'm willing to bet that that is Judy, and she has betrayed the party. I did write that down before I flipped to the next page.
See, I didn't get the reveal that you got because I obviously am going to know who it is because I've got a two-page spread here. But I mean, I was suspicious of Judy kind of from the beginning for some reason. Like there was something off that I do not like about Judy. So I was like, I'm kind of suspecting she's going to turn out to be a traitor.
All right, and then, well, yeah, let's move on to the next page. And sure enough, that is Beauty, and she is joined with the Briharia with a promise of becoming a special messenger for them. And also, she gets the ability to turn into a bird. She says the in Vunchi got Sister Marianne in London, and then came looking for Judy. Um, and notice on that top left page, we get a close up of Judy's face, and she is wearing a yellow flower in her headband that she picked back on page 4. That's interesting. I'm sure it's not relevant though. She dumps Frank's head in the pit with Constantine, and uh,
So apparently somebody got a little head in the cave.
um, the, the page, someone the top left panel of Judy's close up face and Constantine's face right below it. Those portions of the page look okay, pretty good. The rest of the page, art wise, not that impressive.
I think this is when I started to kind of fall off of Judy's design a little bit. I mean, I do like the emotion that I get the feeling that she looks, based on the look of her face, that she feels not very happy with herself for betraying her friend, but like it felt like it's something she needed to do
Right.
to save her own butt. Constantine, on the other hand, looks, I think, pretty good. I mean, he looks beat up. The
Yeah.
coloring, the shading, everything like that. That looks like typical action kind of comic getting beat up kind of look.
Yeah. It's okay. We've seen more detail. We've seen less. This is kind of in the middle. So I'm with you. He does look good there. So then we move on to the next page, and Constantine is begging Judy not to betray him. But Judy's like, "Nah, I'm good. I get to be important in the new universe after they destroy heaven." We see the Briharia are working on some sort of spell on a rock shaped like the United States. Um, I'm not gonna lie, that's actually pretty freaking cool. But I wonder why they are so United States focused, though, when it's not just the people of the United States who are going to believe and give power to the supernatural. Um, I get that it's a US centered and centric book, which is why it's shaped like the United States. But I don't know, maybe we could have had a really cool picture with like all of the continents. Um, I don't know. I guess that's basically my only real criticism of that. It does look very, very cool. And then at the bottom of the page, Swamp Thing's pool starts filling up with um, orange gunk.
Yeah, I don't know what the gunk is. I'm a little concerned to ask. I mean, it could be like the melted, piles of goo of human beings for all we know, the way these sick bastards work.
I
So
was gonna guess sewage.
I mean, sewage is possible too. Um, as far as like the United States thing goes, I didn't put any thought into it until you brought it up, but it would be interesting, completely off script backstory possibility thing of maybe it was because the rest of the world already has pretty heavy superstitious beliefs. Um, there's a lot of continents and countries out there that are very, still believing in a lot of that kind of supernatural element and stuff. And America is pretty firm into the whole no, that stuff doesn't exist. The only supernatural element that exists is God.
You're not wrong there. We are a nation that was founded by Puritans, so that actually makes a lot of sense. So Constantine tells Judy that the Braheri are just going to kill her. They tell Judy to ignore Constantine and get undressed. Constantine tries to convince her again that she should stop trusting them by appealing to how lonely she will be in the new world, since humans can't live. The Braheri give her a bitter root to chew on as part of her transformation. She said she's going to vomit, and the Braheri priest says that is good, since she will have to get rid of all her internal organs. And she's going to vomit them out. Isn't that lovely? The organs must make it into a bowl. Judy's old body dies, though her head still lives. As her head falls to the ground, so does the yellow flower that she was wearing in her hair. The Brigadier continued to tell Judy how to transform into a bird, and we see Constantine is about to drown in the pool he is in. Swamp Thing calls out for him. Constantine yells out for Swamp Thing to stop the Grand Master from turning Judy into a bird. Swamp Thing goes after the Grand Master, and we see a very strange looking bird in the bottom right pane that used to be Judy. Um, my callouts here are particularly there's three main things I want to call out. Number one, you said the Invunchi wasn't, didn't look that scary, but he has put his one arm all the way through Swamp Thing. Um, I don't know how difficult that actually is, but I don't think we've ever seen anything do that before.
I mean, I'm not going to say that it's not a threat to Swamp Thing. It just doesn't have the intimidating look uh, that the other threats to Swamp Thing have been. Like it's just something about that look doesn't work for me. I mean, we all know, uh, we all have those characters that we've seen in comics that have those terrible designs, but could be really good characters, but just god awful designs. And that's what I feel with this character.
I think the Invunchi was actually based on a real world myth, and that's why it looks like that. So I get what you're saying. They probably could have had a little more fun with it. The
Yeah.
second thing that I want to call out is seeing Swamp Things. I'm sorry, the second thing I want to call out is seeing Constantine's whatever that is in that water. It's rising and it's starting to come around his face, and it looks like it's just starting to go in his mouth. And we know he's attached by the neck, so he can't move up or down really. He's stuck there. That reading that, looking at that panel, that made me feel claustrophobic and like I was about to drown. But one of my big fears in real life is actually drowning. So that's probably why it affected me so much. But really good job to the artist and to Alan Moore for giving me the heebie-jeebies, as it were.
Uh, yeah, that's weird because that's like a big fear of mine too. I didn't get the same vibe that you got off of with it, but I think with me, it takes a lot to kind of unnerve me, and this one wasn't able to do it. But it's, I mean, I think it's a cool look and it looks creepy. It looks definitely disgusting. I mean, this whole page to me is ugly, but it's kind of a beautiful ugly. It's like
You're
an
right
ugly
about that.
mess that just
I
works.
agree.
Um, 'Cause, like, even, like, the bird down at the bottom, it's like it's an ugly looking bird, but
Yeah,
I
let's
feel
start
like
talking about that because that was the third thing I wanted
yeah.
to bring up was the bird itself. Um, it's ugly, but it's also metal. Like I feel like you might see something like that on the cover of maybe like a deathcore album or something. I mean, that is just that design. And with the little pink purplish hair sticking up. Oh, you can still see the pearl in its beak. I I love the bird. The bird is so freaking creepy.
No, it's great because it definitely kind of instead of jumping ahead, where I feel like some artists will do that, well, they will jump immediately to the final transformation of whatever is being whatever metamorphosis is happening at the time, and like that we're still in the midst of the metamorphosis itself. It's like she still has the basic shape of her human head with these tiny legs kicking out, not like it's starting to form, but we're not getting full bird yet, and that gives it a really good creepy vibe to it. So before we go to the next page, I want to point out that I think that red panel is just really, really cool. There's just it kind of pulls the whole ugliness of the page together. I don't know why it's red. I don't know if we're getting a viewpoint of a specific character or what's happening, or if it's just like red to kind of invoke the rage of Swamp Thing, what's happening. But I mean, I can't even make out all the detail of what Swamp Thing's doing in that panel, but just something about it just makes it look really kind of artistically beautiful.
He's killing the we have the red panel, then we have Constantine drowning, and then in the panel below that, we see the Invinci is just laid out on the ground.
Okay, so because it looked like he was snapping something, but I couldn't tell what it was
If you
exactly
look
he was
close
doing.
at the kind of the left hand side of the panel, you can see the Invinci's hand uh, tied behind its back. Um, you can see Swamp Thing's fist over on the right, but I'm not sure exactly what's happening in between the Invinci's between Swamp Thing's hand and like the Invinci's shoulders. Maybe well, no, I don't think he ripped the head off because the head's still attached on the bottom. Maybe he just twisted the head back around the right way.
That would be interesting. That would be very brutal if that's what he did. But I mean, it's either way, it works. It's just that panel alone is like it draws your attention. Like that's the first thing when when you flip to that page, my eye immediately goes to the red panel.
Next page, we get the evil priest telling Judy how to continue changing into a bird. Whereas Constantine just a moment ago told Swamp Thing, stop the bird thing from happening. And the evil priest just keeps going on. In the meantime, we see that Constantine's head has gone underwater, and Swamp Thing is reaching in to get him. And then the final form of the bird we see on that bottom left panel, and then to the right of that, we see on this double page spread, Swamp Thing is grabbing Constantine, pulling him up out of the water with that sewage, presumably, that Constantine was, buried in, breaking the chains. But that allows the bird to get away, which is what Constantine told Swamp Thing not to let happen. And Constantine thinks that Swamp Thing is a big, stupid idiot. And the bird's flown away.
I am very interested to find out why the bird thing is so important. I mean, that must be. I'm going to assume that's going to happen in the next issue, um, because it just it doesn't make any sense to me why this bird. I mean, like did
It's
they have
delivering
this
the message.
planned out?
Yeah, so it says. The message is on its way.
Yeah, I guess that's what I'm curious about because it's like, were they going to do this with one of their own, or was she always a part of the plan? At some point, were they going to try and convert somebody into a bird? I mean, that's where I'm a little bit kind of confused on. So obviously, that will be tie up. I'm assuming next issue.
Yeah, yeah,
But I
that's
like
they
again,
want to keep you hooked.
yeah.
Not
I
like the
like
next
again
page
just
isn't going to do that though. Sorry, go ahead.
I mean, that's a good point. The transition to the bird thing is still again. I mean, that's probably one of the highlights of the entire issue was her
Yeah, it
turning
really
into a
is.
bird. Was just that was gorgeous. I like that that whole string of panels too. Basically, with the top part being framed with half of Swamp Thing's head. Like that's just kind of a cool looking panel design there.
Yeah, it is. And then at the end of the page, we get Abby walking into the school where she teaches and saying hi to one of her coworkers. Um, her, uh, her coworker if she has seen the paper. She says no, and he shows her. There are pictures of her being intimate with Swamp Thing. Um, I want to talk about her reaction on that bottom left panel. Um, the look on her face, the her not knowing what to say, the oh Jesus. I don't know what it is about that panel, but it that panel is just perfect. Her reaction, the look on her face, what she says, just that shock, you can see that on her face that her most private moments have been published for everybody to see. And not only that, but it's potentially very embarrassing to her. Not just because, it's basically porn, but also because it's porn with a swamp elemental.
Yeah, it's definitely got to be very embarrassing. I mean, I think, and I want to believe that every one of us who's watching, who in the future will watch, who are currently recording, we've all had that moment where we got caught doing something that's maybe kind of embarrassing. I mean, like obviously not to the point where we've been boinking a swamp elemental, but like something. And you just all, I think we all can sympathize with that look of like, oh crap, okay,
Uh, It's
yeah.
it's over. You can see her brain just trying to process, going through the process of it's happened, everybody knows about it, what are the implications, and probably just going down the list of implications as she's sitting there thinking. And then that's when her boss calls her back so that the police officers who are there can arrest her. We go on to the next page, and Abby has read her rights. The police accuse her of being a sex offender. The officers tell Abby it's even worse that she is a sex offender who works with kids. They compare Swamp Thing to something like an animal, or at least definitely something that's not human. Um, we close out seeing a Beauty and the Beast headline.
Uh, I I mean, this is one of those pages that just I would had so many mixed emotions because like it furthers the story, which I love it.
You know what?
Um,
Forget the bird. I want to know what happened to Abby. I am I'm a little invested in the what about the bird this time, blah blah blah. Who cares? I want to know what's going to happen.
yeah, I mean we've seen the most interesting part with the bird. The transformation was the coolest part of the bird. I mean, after this, it's like it's just a bird now. But yeah, the Abby thing is, I mean, there's so much going on here. Like one, and this is stuff that's not going to happen, but it's like I would just love for the superhero hero community to come out and just be like, hey, we've all got significant others. I mean, Blue Devil probably has a girlfriend, and he's basically a demon. You've got, you know, I can't even think of the Creeper. I mean, like, they've all probably got like love interests. Superman's an alien for crying out loud. I mean, I'm sure they're not. I don't think they're like officially together, but it's like Lois Lane is boinking an alien. Why can't Abby have a swamp elemental that just feels like the community should come together on this one?
Too
Um,
much judgment from the newspaper, from the police, from Abby's boss. Terrible.
e- Especially, I mean, I know you got on me about body shaming Judith, but we're going to body shame and just face shame that cop, that blonde, ugly, hideous monster of a cop that has the face of just disgust. And I don't mean disgust like she's disgusted. I mean like I'm disgusted looking at her face. All right, that is a horror, and I think they made her a horrible looking character on purpose, which I love
Oh,
because
sure.
you definitely hate her. Like you want someone to punch her in the face.
Yeah. So to the end of the issue. like we've mentioned repeatedly, the art seems really rushed here. But honestly, at this point, it's kind of normal in this title. I think that in the places where Totlebon was able to focus, I think the art was just amazing. I think it was a mistake to let him ink his own work when he really should have been focused more on pencils and let somebody else take care of the inking, so maybe it wouldn't have been quite so rushed. But maybe there's other circumstances that we don't know about and may never know about that caused him to want to ink his own work there.
I very rarely am like fond of an artist inking their own work. It does not happen that often that I feel like they can pull it off. At least, especially in that like 80s, 90s era. Uh, like I remember for a brief period, I think it was John Byrne was writing, drawing. He did pencils and inks on Wonder Woman, and it was like the worst looking Wonder Woman, uh, like being done. Like his artwork just looked horrible when he was
He
inking
was doing
himself.
the same thing on Man of Steel too, when they were retelling Superman's origin story after the crisis.
I don't remember if he inked himself at that point. I'd have to go back and look at it, but I
I
do know
thought
this.
he
Like
did.
whenever he inks himself,
I could be
okay, yeah,
wrong, but
like
I thought I remember
most of the time,
that.
whenever he inks himself, it's awful. There's only a handful of artists that have been able to pull it off. Most of the time, it's just no, you don't ink yourself.
Um, I itself, it did feel kind of slow, with not much happening, with Swamp Thing himself, despite this being his book. I mean, don't get me wrong, the story was good. It just wasn't as good as it has been in the past. Um, I think the foreshadowing, with the flower being in place from the beginning was okay. Honestly, it did feel a little forced. A bit too much God from the machine, if you will. I'm not sure what more should have done instead, but honestly, I expect more from more. No pun intended.
I mean, I can understand from a writer's perspective that sometimes you back yourself into a corner and you don't really know how to get out of it. So that could have been a thing that maybe he just, he came up with that idea of like, okay, well, how, Swamp Thing is blocked from the green. Okay, well, how are you going to get in there? Someone's got to bring something in, and obviously, Constantine's not going to be picking flowers.
Now that I think about it, I almost wonder if there was a mistake made or if he changed his mind halfway through. Because initially we were told Swamp Thing is blocked by a magical barrier. And then it turns out it wasn't a magical barrier, there's just nothing growing there. And I suppose the magical barrier could have prevented things from growing there. It seems a little detailed as I'm used to getting from more.
Yeah, it just, I mean, because also on top of that, if that's all it took, you would have figured again, Constantine should have been smart enough not just to not split the party, but maybe to realize, hey, we're going in there. There's probably nothing alive growing. I'm going to bring something in that Swamp Thing can use
A
to.
seed, literally a seed in his pocket would have
Yeah,
as a backup plan, if nothing else. Yeah, I think Constantine should have been smarter. I Now here's the thing. I know what the story is building up to. So I'm kind of willing to give this issue a pass because it wasn't great. And what it is building up to is, in my opinion, the best Swamp Thing arc that we get from Alan Moore. But we have to get there first. And this issue was a part of getting there. Um, so I'm gonna give this issue a 2.25 out of 5. Judy turning into a bird. It was just a little below average across the board, but I can't wait for what's coming.
I'm I'm probably going to agree about a 2.25 because it wasn't terrible, and there was enough elements that kind of kept it somewhat interesting. It furthered the story. Pacing was nice. Art had its hits and misses. I mean, it did kind of leave me thinking like, all right, this like, well, let's see what happens next time because I feel like this was kind of like to steal a Family Guy quote. This was a mega episode kind of thing, where it's like, okay, wasn't terrible, wasn't great. Um, I mean, obviously the Abby thing is probably now the most interesting. Like, okay, what's going to happen here? Um, so yeah, I'll go with the 2.25. I'm going to change the name though and say Judy Death Metal Birds.
So yeah, can you imagine seeing Abby get arrested because those photos were published, and now you have to wait an entire month to find out what happens next to Abby? I I am so glad we're reading collected edition and we don't have to wait. We get to talk about it next week. What happens to Abby? And I guess we can talk about what happens to Swamp Thing too if we have to. Um, but yeah, I just that wait in between is it seems like a lot.
It's really hard. I've noticed with binge watching television shows, binge reading comic books, that now that I've been gone back to reading monthly comics, it can get a little stressful at times. And I think that's why you really can't read just one series. You have to have multiple books across the line because you need something to fill in the gap as
Yep,
you're waiting for the next installment.
yep. This method of putting a comic book universe together, which kind of I think DC originated the idea by having the two Flashes meet, and then Marvel perfected the idea when they did the Marvel universe with the Fantastic Four and the Avengers and all that stuff in the beginning. I think they did it in a really smart and good way and figured out got all that stuff figured out, and it's a way to keep you hooked unless you're Marvel in 2026, because everything Marvel in 2026 is ass and they should stop publishing comics. Wait, no, not completely. They should fire all their editorial staff, hire new editorial staff, and let the writers do what they want to do.
I agree. I mean, there's a handful of books that I like. I'm looking at You Amazing Spider-Man, and I know I apparently am in the minority. I've seen some videos online that have ripped apart the current stories going on, but I don't hate it. Um, but it's yeah, there's a lot coming out from Marvel right now that is just not that great. Meanwhile, DC is just
Oh
killing
yeah,
it.
absolutely. Firing on all cylinders for DC.
Exactly. In fact, if people who are watching this, if you're interested in like the whole elemental aspect of things, like the green and all that kind of stuff, check out Aquaman. Aquaman is just, r- I mean, I don't know what's going on entirely with Aquaman. I jumped in during the KO stuff, so I got to go back and read the other stuff to find out how we got here. But Aquaman's really interesting right now.
I'll tell you what. The other thing that involves the green in a big way right now is Poison Ivy by G. Willow Wilson.
That
Go read that too. I need to read Aquaman because you keep telling me how good it is, and it's freaking Aquaman. But you know what? Maybe Aquaman is cooler than I think he is, and I want to give it a try. I need to go back and read some Aquaman.
See, that's the thing. Like, in the entire run of Aquaman, I can only name a handful of times I actually liked it, and that was like Dan Jerkins did it for a little while. Some of Peter David's wasn't bad, and then when Jeff Johns obviously got on, that was a great run. But Aquaman's not a great character for me. I'm not a big, I don't even like to eat fish that often. Why am I going to want to read fish? And yet here I am, kind of like, all right, I'm digging. Okay.
So, thank you everyone for joining us tonight. We are really glad that you're here with us watching. We do this for the love of the comics medium.
Yes, which you could definitely see if that last rant makes it into the final video and Nacho King doesn't cut it out, then you can definitely see we love comics.
Yeah.
Um, Also, we want to invite you to join our Patreon, where on there on our post crisis chat book club for our members, we are going to let you the Patreons get some say on some books. We'll read comments on the channel when we record and stuff. There's a lot of cool things we can do if you get involved in that book club stuff. Also, if you're really interested, you can follow us on Blue Sky. We got some presents on there, so check the link below. It's in the description.
Hey, lately, on Blue Sky, we're recording at the end of February 2026. And lately, Stephen Bissette has been interacting with our posts on Blue Sky. I assume that he has not actually watched much of any of the videos, because if he had, he would probably be saying some really nasty things to me because I have repeatedly said how much I don't like some of that man's art. Again, we kind of figured out it's because the art is rushed. Whatever. At
Yeah.
this point in time, he is interacting with us on Blue Sky, and it's pretty freaking cool.
Yes, and I'm hoping that we're going to get to a point where on the book club we can actually get enough people to, like, if they subscribe and donate us enough money, we can book the fight between you and Mr. Bissette.
Yeah, I'd to see that. Also, I'd like to remind you that we do have some Amazon affiliate links down in the description. You can pick up the book that we were just reading tonight in various formats. In fact, James, you can cut this part out. One of the formats is this lovely Absolute Edition. It has a green fuzzy cover that feels like moss. I love feeling up the cover of my Absolute Edition. The coloring inside is great. It was recolored. Some people like the recolors, some people don't. I happen to be a big fan of it. I think it looks good. And I happen to know that the recoloring in here was overseen by Mr. Stephen Bissette himself, and he approves of it and likes it and says that the coloring in this book is what he pictured in his head back in the day when he was doing this art. And at the time, they were not able to achieve it because the technology wasn't there yet. If an absolute edition is too big for you, you can also get a box set of the trade paperbacks. Um, Sorry, trying to get the glare off there. Where we can see Swamp Thing in his glorious crown on the cover, or helmet, whatever you want to call that, on the cover of this particular um, trade paperback. You can get the individual trades, you can get hardcovers, or you can get a big giant box set for a really low price that includes all six of Alan Moore's Saga the Swamp Thing trades. Um, and then when you buy from our Amazon affiliate link, um, a little bit of that money that you spend on that purchase comes back here to the channel. It doesn't cost you anything extra. By the way, we have had some folks who have been clicking on our links and buying things. So we really, really appreciate you. We've actually generated a teeny tiny bit of money from our Amazon affiliates. So thank you for those of you who are doing.
Also, if you could like this video, I feel like we're begging you at this point, but we're not above that point of view. We can beg if we have to. Give the channel a subscribe, comment on the video as soon as you see it. We really would support. We would love that kind of support. It helps the channel grow. Just be first in there. Hit it up. Ask us questions, call us names, do what you got to do.
For sure. Lastly, I want to give a big shout out to our thank you for doing this, dude. We could not do this without.
Yeah, like seriously, with it, this video would be a mess if we did not have him. And like, I don't think people would be tuning in to just see us bicker like an old married couple.
All right. So, what would you like our closing phrase to be tonight? I don't really have much. I hope you got something.
Um, I don't know. I didn't come prepared tonight. Damn, I don't have anything.
I got
Crap.
you. So, for our closing phrase tonight, I hope you never drown in the soup.
All right, that works. That definitely works.
You know what? If you have a suggestion for us, please leave it down below.
Yeah, if anyone can come up with some good endings for us, like, just throw that stuff in the comments and let us know, because we can definitely use some. We're not professional writers. We're not professional anything at this point.
That's 100% correct. Even at my day job, I am not a professional anything. Have a good night,
Uh,
everyone.
all right.